Good morning, everyone. Today is Sunday. Now, usually when I talk about a social science related topic, I focus more on the individual. In other words, more psychology based. And I'm still going to kind of do that today, but my main topic of focus will be more economics or logic based, because today I want to talk about the law of comparative advantage. Okay, first the hard part, the explanation and definition. I'll try to make this as simple as possible. Let's say that in a given month, Farmer McGregor can produce 200 kiwis, or 100 apples, or some combination thereof. But for every 2 kiwis he produces, he has to give up producing 1 apple. That's why he can only produce 200 kiwis or 100 apples. Make sense? If not, play that again. Farmer Ben, on the other hand, doesn't have quite so many resources, and in a given month he can produce 100 apples or 100 kiwis, or of course some combination of the two. And this means that for every 1 apple he produces, he has to give up 1 kiwi, and vice versa. And for you econ freaks who are freaking out, I'm assuming constant opportunity costs. So the principle of comparative advantage states that to get the highest output from these two farmers, McGregor and Ben, each of them should produce what they produce best. Okay, let's take McGregor first. Remember, he can produce 200 kiwis or 100 apples. Let's say that he decides to produce apples. For every single apple he produces, he has to give up 2 kiwis. But if Farmer Ben chooses to produce apples, for every apple he produces, he only has to give up 1 kiwi. And of course, this means that Ben has a comparative advantage in producing apples, so he should focus all resources on producing apples, while McGregor should focus all his resources on producing kiwis. I'm now up here in Richmond for one of my family friends' housewarming party. Hilltop Mall is right across the street, so I'm gonna just take a walk around and do some talking. Now, comparative advantage is very basic. It's just completely logical. So my question is, why do so many people not do what they're good at or what they like? My answer to that question is that a lot of people feel that what they do best is not valued in the world, or alternatively, maybe it is valued, but they don't feel appreciated for what they do. So let me give you an example. I was leading a service project with Faith in Action at West Portal, our community service group, and we were hosting a talent show and a dinner for fundraising. And for a talent show, of course, we let all our members do whatever they wanted. But one of them came up to me and said, "David, I can't do anything. I don't play any instruments, I can't act, I can't speak in public. What do I do?" So I asked him, "Well, can't you help out in the kitchen? Can't you serve food? I know you're very good at cooking." Then he told me, "Well, nobody really cares about those petty little jobs, so I'm not going to do anything." And for a second, I couldn't help but see some truth in what he said. I mean, isn't it true that it's the people who perform who get all the applause, the recognition, and even the post-performance congratulations, things like that? After talking to him for a while longer, I finally did convince him to work in the kitchen and a few other jobs. But I just couldn't help but wonder how many people suppress what they're good at, what they like to do something else that will just get them recognition. To some of you, this scenario might seem a little far-fetched, but I want you to think about it a little bit more carefully. I'll be honest, there are many, many times when I get discouraged, because sometimes I just think that there isn't a single thing that I'm really good at. Sure, some people might say that I do well in school or that I'm an insightful person, but how much are those things really appreciated? Is it just me, or do other people feel the same way about their talents? I've mentioned this many, many times in my previous vlogs, but I think that one of the things that's really undervalued, creative arts. You see, it's really apparent when there are cuts to education and things like that, creative arts are usually the first to go. I just have 2 things to say about that. 1, I think that's really disappointing, and 2, I can't help but wonder a lot whether artists, especially performing artists, think that their talents are undervalued. I certainly believe that actors, musicians, are given a lot of verbal praise and appreciation, especially like right after the performance. I often cannot help but wonder whether this kind of appreciation, along with the love of the art itself, is really good enough for an artist to continue what he or she is doing. Because if the answer to that question is no for most artists, then I'm really concerned, because it shows that we aren't placing enough value on the creative arts, and we're turning people away from doing what they're good at, from doing what they love, and that just violates the law of comparative advantage. It violates basic logic. But I guess I got really off topic, so back to what I was talking about earlier. One of the criticisms that I'm predicting that I'm going to be getting is that humans cannot perfectly obey the law of comparative advantage. For example, just because your comparative advantage is, say, doing math, doesn't mean you're going to be working on math problems at every waking moment. In fact, I think it's quite important to explore a lot of different fields and be really well-rounded. For example, one of the things that I would not say that I'm exceptionally good at is music, and yet I really enjoy singing in choir and learning more about music. And in my opinion, I think everyone should find things that they really enjoy doing, and just be open to exploring more possibilities. Watching myself on the TV, that's kind of funny. And this leads me into a second point of potential criticism. Notice that every time in this vlog that I said doing something you're good at, I coupled it immediately with doing something that you like. But we're all aware that in the real world, a lot of people do things that they're good at, but that they don't like. But that is another topic, and I'll talk about that next time, I promise. And some of you might be criticizing the law of comparative advantage itself. Why have this coined term, this law, this principle that just says, do what you do best? Isn't that, like, really common sense? Well, yeah, of course it is, but this is one of the reasons that I like social studies. Two main reasons. One, it gives us a nice methodical, empirical way of approaching everyday problems. For example, instead of having to be deeply philosophical and explaining to someone why they should do what they do best, you can just use math, the math of opportunity costs and economics, to show them. So the social sciences really gives us a nice clear way of categorizing the world of people. And I think the second main reason that I like the social sciences is that they connect us all as one people, one species. They give us a better understanding of how to interact with people, and they give us some insight into understanding human nature. You know, it's been quite a while since I've made such an analytical vlog, and I'm exhausted. It's 1 a.m., so I'm gonna go to sleep. Good night, everyone.